I see a focused creator as like a teacher because I'm the way, like what I'm doing, what you're doing as well. We are not like those entertainment creators, but we are educational creators. So they are like teachers, right? Like there were multiple things that you've done in the past, multiple skills that you've gotten. So I myself had this too. First, I was like obsessed with playing the guitar, and if you get good at it, then you will increase your impact. And the more impact we have as focused creators, the better. Good question. I think it's definitely an evolving process because when I first started out, I didn't know what I was going to do. Like I knew like I didn't want to work a 9 to 5 for the rest of my life. I wanted to do something for myself. But it was a very long process and I built everything around focus. This was like 1 year ago actually. I started become obsessed with focus because that was my biggest problem. So
Hmm.
I did everything in my power to solve it. I made a post about focus every day.
Tibor, what is a focus creator and how can I become one myself?
A focused creator. I see a focused creator as like a teacher because I'm the way, like what I'm doing, what you're doing as well. We are not like those entertainment creators, but we are educational creators. So they are like teachers, right? And I think we are doing something amazing here because, in my experience, creators are way more passionate about teaching than actual teachers in the normal education system. So a focused creator is a very passionate teacher who is really focused on what they do. Because where attention goes, energy flows. Everyone knows this famous quote, but there is so much depth behind it. Because if you focus on something for a very long time with high intensity and volume, then you will get good at it. Like there were multiple things that you've done in the past, multiple skills that you've gotten. So I myself had this too. First, I was like obsessed with playing the guitar. Then I was obsessed with sports, also with video games, and now with business. And I noticed that if you just obsess with something, if you focus on something, you get really good at it. And if you get good at it, then you will increase your impact. And the more impact we have as focused creators, the better.
Amazing. So you outlined what a focus creator is, and there were words like attention, energy, obsession, and impact. So let's go over around the journey. So how can I become a focus creator? Do I really need one obsession or can it be an evolving process?
Good question. I think it's definitely an evolving process because when I first started out, I didn't know what I was going to do. Like I knew like I didn't want to work a 9 to 5 for the rest of my life. I wanted to do something for myself. But it was a very long process. I started on X. It was 1.5 years ago, a bit longer, I think 21 months. And yeah, so basically I just started writing. I thought maybe I would become a ghostwriter, maybe I would create courses and earn passive income. You know, that is where everybody comes from, but it's never the
Mhm.
case. It's never about the passive income. But yeah, so I think it is better to be directionally accurate than specifically inaccurate. So because if you pick a niche, but that niche is not exactly the thing you want to do, then you might be wrong. And if you're wrong, you need to start up from the ground up. You need to pick another niche and do that again, pick another niche and do that again. And if you just choose the right direction, so follow your curiosity, write about your interests, based on those interests, you can pick the essence of your brand. Mine is focus. That is the value that I like the most. But this is different for everyone. Like for some of them, for a client for me, for example, it is connection. For another, it is differentiation. But find that essence of your brand. Based on that essence, you can pick a niche. Based on that niche, you can pick an offer. So yeah, it is definitely like an evolving process.
And you said the word essence. So would you say that every brand we are creating from ourselves should come from this one essence? And how can I find this essence? So you said the equation, but can you explain it a little bit more?
Yes. So the essence it is really good for the marketing aspect because your brand basically means how someone perceives your
Mm-hmm.
brand. And I built everything around focus. This was like 1 year ago, actually. I started become obsessed with focus because that was my biggest problem. So
Mm-hmm.
I did everything in my power to solve it. I made a post about focus every day. And then, like 3 or 4 months later, people started calling me like the focus guy. Hey, Tibor, the
Mm-hmm.
focus guy. So that is where my original bio came from. Like some clients, they also told me, like, whenever they saw a post about focus, they immediately thought about me. And that is how you imprint your brain, your brand. And this is this is the focus thing again, because the more time they think about you, they focus on your brand, the more energy your brands get and the faster it grows, basically. Yeah, so it takes a while to find the essence because that was your question also in the beginning. The essence, like first, it was for me, it was conquer yourself because I was constantly in a struggle. My ambitious side and my lazy side, it felt like they were playing tug of war
Mm-hmm.
constantly. Then it was about mastery because I was like obsessed by mastering skills. And only then it became focus. So your job is not to find it immediately because I would say that it's impossible. I would say just start walking the path and you will find it eventually.
Mm-hmm.
So your essence, it could be either an obsession that you have, or it could be a goal that you're going for, or a problem. That's the biggest problem that you solved for yourself mainly.
Mm-hmm.
Because there are some lists with values, and some people got their clarity from that by looking at the list and discovering the top 5 values that they valued most. Then they will remove one, then they remove another one, then they remove another one, then you remove another one. And with that core value, that could be your essence as well.
It's
What questions can they ask themselves? So basically, like what we already discussed, it's not like questions, but just be on the lookout. Like, what is your obsession, for example, or what is like the biggest problem that you're facing or that you've solved for yourself, for example. And another question that might be good is, can I link every idea that I have back to that one thing? And if you
mm-hmm.
can't, then there is likely another layer.
I used to struggle to find my core brand essence for almost a year. Then towards the journey, towards May or April, I discovered that I kind of beat my phone addiction. I used to struggle for almost 10 years. And then this slowly became my brand. And now finally it's also called Focused. So Focused Entrepreneur is the whole umbrella, but under that it's the podcast, it's my newsletter, etc., etc. So they are all under this. But I want to go back to the teaching side. So you said that a focus creator is someone or a teacher that loves teaching or a teacher that loves what they're doing. So can
Yes.
you expand this a little bit more? And why do you think that normal teachers aren't that passionate about it?
Yeah, that's a good question. Like first of all, like when you're a creator, you have full autonomy. You have full autonomy on what you want to work on, what you want to talk about, where you want to work on, with whom you want to work on. And compare that to the normal education, like you're just forced like a certain curriculum and that is what you have to do. And creators are allowed to follow their own curiosity and teach about that subject as well. I think creators who are teaching about their passion, that is what this is. They can explain the concepts way better. They explain it based on understanding instead of the memorization. So I think it's a much more effective learning style. Like in my case, I learned so much more from like random YouTubers, random creators on YouTubers than on like teachers because they just couldn't make it that interesting for me.
But I want to teach with passion. Would you say that the mindset switch was effectively the beginning of your coaching journey?
Ooh, I'm not sure because I always liked teaching. I always liked helping other people. That's why I became a teacher in the first place. Like I
Yes.
still remember when I was like a little kid and I would go to a birthday party and there were other kids. I love to teach them how to do certain football tricks or like soccer for the American viewers watching this. But so, and that is why I wanted to become a PE teacher in the first place, because I like sports and I like teaching.
Mhm.
But I didn't like the way I had to teach. I
Mm-hmm.
had my own vision. I had my own way of doing things, but that wasn't allowed, of course. And with the creator economy, you have full autonomy. You can literally do whatever you want, whatever passion, obsession, interest, whatever you have, you can teach about it. So it starts with learning first, right? Because
Mm-hmm.
you have to be a great consumer before you can be a great creator. Like, you can't draw water from an empty well. So if there's a lot of mud and dirt inside of that well because you're watching Netflix, you're watching, like, scrolling on TikTok, for example, then no good ideas will come out of it. So it
Mm-hmm.
starts by learning, by becoming a good student. And that is by being very intentional about what you consume on YouTube. That also happens by I invested like more than $10,000 in high quality mentorship that helped me as well a lot. And once you start learning, then you can always teach the people like that are 2 to 3 steps behind you. Because when you're going from like A to Z, for example, when you reach C or something like that, you can help the
Mm-hmm.
people behind you. There are
Mm-hmm.
many problems, many obstacles that you have to overcome. And once you overcome these obstacles, like you with your phone addiction, for example, then that could be something that you can teach.
And how, so we talked about right now what to teach about, but let's say I know how to teach it, I learned it,
Hmm.
I did it myself, I'm now at, let's say, point C or point D, and I want to teach people at point A or B. How can I truly reach them? So how does the process of truly teaching or getting the awareness look like?
Yes, I get you. So you're asking me how to find the people that you can teach.
How to find people or how to reach them in general? So is it
Yes.
content?
Okay. I see right now, because the education space is rapidly changing.
Mm-hmm.
I used to believe X was the best place to start, but now I don't think it is. Now I think school is a way higher opportunity, first of all. So that is the short term approach. That is doing the unscalable work, it is doing the engagement and the networking. Most people call it engaging, I call it networking in a writing based platform like Skool or X, for example. That is the easiest way because that is literally in your hands. That is like a
Mm-hmm.
volume game because the more you do, the more people you will reach. And content is more a long term game. I just recently started making YouTube videos and I don't expect like any leads from it right now. But in 6 months of consistently uploading YouTube videos, or in like a year, 2 years, then it is a very long term way to reach people. But now just focus on networking because that is what all of this is. That is how I got most of my clients, pretty much all of my clients, through networking. That is how we met. That is the reason why we are on this podcast right
Mm-hmm.
now, because we networked beforehand.
Definitely. So same for me. So networking literally brought me to where I'm at right now
Hmm.
in terms of the podcast, in terms of where I'm going with my business, even starting with the brand I have right now. And funnily, a few months ago, I went to London for a networking event. So definitely a lot of stuff happened after networking on these platforms, but you said that this is the beginning. But let's say you advance as a creator and are right now maybe having a Skool community with 200 people. I saw a post of you recently talking about it, but how does this journey from, let's say, zero to where you're at right now and the step after this, so let's say leads from YouTube, look like? So how would you say, can I move from zero to, first of all, the Skool community of people
Okay.
who truly listens to me?
Yes. So first of all, you just start with the unscalable work like outreach and networking, and you connect with a lot of people and hop on calls, because the whole point of doing these engagement and DMs is to hop on calls. Doing these calls, you basically ask them for different things. You ask them about their current situation, what they are working on, where they're at right now. Then you ask them about their desired situation, because then you have a gap between where they are now to they want to be. And that gap is their main challenge. So what is stopping you from getting there right now? What is your main bottleneck? And what would your ideal solution be is the fourth question. Once you have all of these four questions, you know you have market resonance. You know what that person wants. And where he is now, what he wants, what is stopping him from getting there, and what his ideal solution is. Then just think about, can I actually help this person solve this problem? So you can, based on that data, you can create an offer, for example, and you can say, oh yeah, sure, let me help you. Then I will do like 1 or 2 people for free. Then once you have some experience, you can charge money for it, but it doesn't have to be the jackpot. Just start with $100 and offer a crazy strong guarantee. If you can say, okay, I will help you get, for example, I will help you hop on 10 calls by the end of the month. And if you didn't hop on these 10 calls, you get all of your money back, no questions asked. And of course, there are a lot of factors that are playing into this as well, like if those persons is actually taking action. But you don't have to worry about the money when you start to begin, because you're now trying to learn. You're not trying to earn. So you take all of the risk. You challenge yourself. Okay, I actually have to deliver, because otherwise all of the money will be given away. And then once you can over deliver, you can gradually scale up your prices, basically. Start coaching people, start helping more clients. Once those clients get results, you can leverage it even more and more and more. Once you have a good reputation, once you have a lot of testimonials, then it would be really good to make YouTube content about it. Because most people, they try to make content first and then get proof, but that isn't the most ideal way. Look at Alex Ramosi, for example. He first built like a $100 million company first. Then he started making YouTube videos about it, and that made him credible. That's why people listen to him. I'm not saying all of the beginners should make a $100 million company first, but we can incorporate that by getting proof as soon as possible, by helping clients, getting client results, getting results ourselves. Then once you make YouTube videos and you make a hook in saying, hey, I did this and this and that, because that is what is most attractive for people. You need to give people a reason to listen to you. Then your content will do much better as well. And I built my community now. So every video I make, I post inside of my community. So it gets boosted by all of the members that are already in it. I will post it in my X account, and all of my followers will watch it as well. So it makes things so much easier by just having proof.
Okay, so it starts with calls outreach, then to prove, to do the work, and later on the YouTube stuff or more the content stuff. But yeah, I want to talk about one thing. So you said that once you hop on a call, you ask them about their current situation and the desired situation. And I think that one of the biggest problem right there is our own belief of, can I truly solve this problem? And this held me back for almost a year. So for 1 year, I said, okay, I can't solve any problem, so I'm not helping anyone. But what would you say is a good approach if you have like this limiting belief of,
Yes,
I can't solve this problem?
so we all have imposter syndrome. I had it from the start. I still have it now. I still think I'm not good enough. I should do this better. I should do that better. And that will never go away, because I see imposter syndrome as like a way for your, I'm going to go into the philosophy side of things. I think this whole imposter syndrome is a way for your old identity to keep you where you're at. And if you want to reach your goals, you have to transform into this new identity. But once you're starting to make progress towards this, your old identity is saying, no, 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 don't go. And you feel this pullback. You feel this pullback of keeping stuck where you're at. And I think it will never go away. We just have to be aware of it, that is the case, and just move forward despite it. And that is why I make this no-brainer offer, because I talk with a lot of people. When I first started, and I say, yeah, how much would you think this is worth? And they would say, yeah, it's like $200, $300. And then I say, okay, what could I do to make it worth $500? And they would give me feedback, for example, and I would apply that feedback. I would make it better, and then I would show them, do you think it's now worth this much? Yeah, sure. Then I'm not going to charge $500 for it. I'm only going to charge $100 for it, to make it a really low-brainer to know that I can over-deliver. And with that, I'm giving a strong, crazy guarantee as well. If you're not happy in 30 days, and they could lie, even if they are happy, they could say, I'm not happy. and then you will give them back their money anyways. So this is how you can like overcome this imposter syndrome, because you know you will over deliver. You know you will over deliver.
Okay, so interesting. And let's just say I hopped on a call, I broke my limiting belief, I said, okay, I can help you with that. How does the process then look like? So is it very individual to the problem, or would you say is there a framework that I can use to truly solve a problem in a way that the client at the end is satisfied?
Yeah, so when you're just first starting out, like I said in the beginning, I think it's not wise to pick a niche, to stick to one thing. And like, so when you're just starting out and doing all of these research calls, you ask those four couple of questions, and for every person it is different. So if you think you can help someone, then you can make like a customized offer for them. And then you will make it like very good, and you will make it no brainer, and you will help that person with that one offer. And if it works, it works. If it doesn't, you will just give them back their money. And you can do this for like 5 offers to test which offer is the best. Can you see this? So I think this is what Naval said. He said every creator or entrepreneur goes to 2 different phases: through the exploration phase and through the exploitation phase. And first, when you're not 100% sure yet, whatever you're going to do, then you're in the exploration phase. Here, what you should do is doing all of these research calls. So hop on a lot of calls, ask about what they are, where they want to go, what their biggest problem is, and yeah, so what their ideal solution is. Then make an offer for them. And these offers are multiple doors, multiple opportunities. So in the beginning phase, you have to knock on all of these doors, knock on all of these opportunities. And once you notice that one thing stand out above all else, and like 50% of the people who you open call with, for example, they struggle with the same thing, then you can choose that one opportunity and go all in. Then you close all of the doors, then you become really focused, and then you will start to go in the exploitation phase. Here you are not doing any more offers. You're just doing one offer, because that is how you will become the best in the focus thing that we said in the beginning. So only do this, and that is how you become the best. And I feel like I'm just in the beginning of this exploitation phase. So basically what it comes down to is this, because this is what you can and want to offer, this whole thing. And by doing the research calls, by asking a lot of questions, you figure this out. This is what the market wants to pay for. And the intersection in between those things is the market resonance. And once you find that, then you can basically go into exploitation phase. Another thing that I call it is the ikigai. This is not actually ikigai. This is the Western version of the ikigai. Once you find the intersection between what you love, what the world needs, what you can be paid for, and what you're good at, once you find that, you're pretty much done. Because this you can do for like 12 to 16 hours a day, and you're good at it and you get paid for it. Then you go into the exploitation phase. So yeah.
Definitely a lot of interesting stuff, and I learned a similar process around creating one offer, giving it to the market, getting some feedback and refining it. But as you said, there's also the phase option of creating multiple offers and then finding the one that truly works. But I think it's all preference, and there's benefits and disadvantages to all of them. But yeah, so I guess we kind of got through the exploration phase. Let's go more over the exploitation phase. So how does creating an offer based on a person look like? So let's say I asked these questions, I got the answers. How can I process these answers into an offer?
Yeah, so basically you basically build a customized program for them. Okay, so if they want this outcome, then you make like your offer first, I help you get from this place to this place in about this time frame, the usual offer thing. Then you're going to think, okay, so what does a person have to do in order to get to where they want to be? So then the first phase, it might be this, like in my case, my first phase is the foundation. Here we will refine the brand fundamentals. Basically, those are 5 brand fundamentals. We will eliminate the distraction, because where attention goes, energy flows. And we will we will structure your time so that it is sustainable in the long term. So that is what I found that everyone has to do to basically just start. That is the foundation. And it doesn't matter how long every phase lasts, because this phase is only takes a week. And in this phase, I will give them the daily fundamentals, the daily things that they have to do in order to get the process to achieve their desired outcome, basically. Then the second phase, okay, once the foundation is complete, what do they then have to do? Well, then they have to implement systems. They have to implement acquisition systems to get constantly leads. They have to implement conversion systems, like what is a efficient way to get them from a lead to a client. And then they have to implement a delivery system, like what will their offer be? What will the structure of their offer be? So basically build the foundation of their business. And once they have that complete, then it's about like the optimization. Okay, so if you're not getting any money yet, then you have a bottleneck. And that bottleneck is either in the acquisition, the conversion, or the delivery. So what you then should do, or as a mentor, as a coach, is to find that bottleneck and to solve it. And I think everyone has a bottleneck. With online business in one of these three things. And even like people like Alex Hermosi and Dan Ko, like my bottleneck right now is the delivery, because I'm working with 9 amazing clients right now, but it does take a lot of time. So I might transition to a cohort, for example, or I might systemize how I give the value by filming it and put it as courses, for example. So optimization phase, it could last forever. But back to your question, it's just like making a very clear process, and it is not about the information that you say. It is more about the actions. So if you have named the phases, the phase 1, phase 2, phase 3, what is the information? What are the modules that you have to make in order for them to understand it? And what are the actions they have to take in order to complete this results? And the action is the most important steps. Because a course or a mentorship, it won't work unless you do. That is also another famous quote. And yeah, so basically focus more on the action steps. That is the final thing. And that is what most people forget. Most coaches, mentors, they give everything at once, but there isn't a clear roadmap, and that usually leads to overwhelm. So if you just say, okay, first this phase, then this phase, then this phase, here are the modules, and here are the actions that you have to take in order to achieve your goal. And yeah, because if someone does the actions, then he will get results.
Okay, so definitely a lot. And you already talked a little bit about your offer.
Mm-hmm.
Let's go roughly through it. So let's start off with the foundation. You already mentioned that you want to get the foundations right to truly build the acquisition and then this like habit phase. So what would you say makes a good foundation for a creator in your offer?
Yeah, so it has to do with the brand fundamentals, and that is your vision. It is your proof. So what valuable outcomes have you achieved? What problems have you solved? It is based on those two things you can make the niche more specific. You can qualify the people who you can help. Then it is the offer. Make a clear, valuable, simple offer. And then it is the origin story. And that is like, because storytelling is very useful in content. Or no, let me explain this differently. All of those fundamentals, you can use them anywhere, and you will use them anywhere. You can use them when creating content. You will use them on calls. You can use them with your offer. Like even in this conversation, I've used some aspects of those couple of things. And if you get really clear on it, and if you just keep improving them every day for like a bit, then it becomes so valuable. It becomes so valuable. Everything you build will be based on that.
Okay,
So yeah.
So you said the origin story, this has some storytelling into it, and can you maybe explain it a little bit more? I know you explained it right now, but can you maybe go a little bit more into the practical stuff? So how does practicing it look like?
Yeah, so it's basically asking yourself these questions like what is your best situation? So where do you used to be? And that is where your niche is now. If you've done this right, that's where your niche is now. Then there is the past pains. So what were the pains that you experienced? And that is the pains that your niche experiences now. Then you go to the epiphany. Like, what is the thing that changed everything? And for me, it was focus. And for a lot of people, for everyone, it might be something different. And then you go to you go to your current situation, and that is your niche's desired situation. If you do it like that, it will be very, very valuable for the marketing.
So amazing. We have vision proof and a specific offer. How does the next step look like? So we have now all of this in place.
So once we have that, it's not necessarily the next step because it is still the foundation. So it is
Okay.
simultaneously. So once you have that, then you need to sacrifice the eliminate the distractions, because your brain is like a problem solving machine. That is how we are evolutionary wired as humans. Whatever we focus on, we solve. So, for example, if you're watching Netflix, when you're watching Netflix, then at night your brain will automatically problem solve. So, if I was that person, what would I do in that situation? When you're watching the news, you do the exact same thing. But that is such a waste of energy, because if you just only focus on business, of course you have your non-negotiables like your health, your relationships, and your peace of mind. Don't sacrifice those because that will hurt you in the long run. But all of the other time, just focus on your business, because your mind will problem solve, and that is how you will achieve the greatest results if you just focus on business. So that is the second thing. And then the third thing is like structuring your time. Because what we want to avoid is focusing really hard for like 2 months and then burn out and lose all of the momentum, because we need to stay consistent. We need to make it sustainable in order to build momentum. And momentum is the only way we can see those exponential results. So, and that you do with efficiency. That is by making a clear weekly schedule. Like, what do you do? How do you incorporate the daily fundamentals inside of your week? How can you create a week that is very productive, but you can do for the rest of your life so that you don't burn out? And I talked about a bit the daily fundamentals. I think the daily fundamentals is the rule of 300. I do this full time now, so I have a lot of time. The rule of 300 is basically 100 minutes of content creation every day, 100 minutes of engagement, and every day, and 100 minutes of DMs and outreach every day. If you do that every day, it's unreasonable if you don't succeed. It's unreasonable. And I see like the clients who are just doing the most unscalable work, done for you work, a lot of DMs, a lot of outreach, a lot of engagement. They are the ones who see the greatest results. And I know there is on X like a bit of this movement going on. Oh, no, you shouldn't do engagement. You shouldn't do this. You shouldn't do that. But networking is a part of it. We are doing networking work, basically. So that is the foundation. If you don't have 300 minutes, just do the rule of 100. That is 30 minutes of creation, 30 minutes of the engagement, and 40 minutes of DMs and outreach.
Okay, definitely a lot. But one thing I wanted to ask is, how do I truly know what is signal and what is noise? What brings my business forward and what doesn't? Because I think for a lot of creators, they are under a threshold, so they don't really see the results yet. But at a certain point, so their actions are moving towards this threshold and they will one day succeed. But how do I truly know that I'm moving forward and not downwards?
Yes, that's okay. So first of all, you can just listen to someone who has already done it before. Like a mentor, for example, someone you look up to, and when they say do something, you should do it. If you are going to think about it yourself, then it gets a bit more complicated. Do you know what second order consequences mean? What it is? Okay, so there is another visual that I would like to show you. But this is something that a lot of entrepreneurs do, but like successful entrepreneurs do, but more people should incorporate this basically. So it is, let me see. So it basically is this: every action you do, it could be good in the short term, but in the long term, it is really bad. For example, faking case studies or lying or stuff like that, or charging really high prices. It might get you money in the short term, but it will hurt your brand and reputation in the long run. And then, for example, these boring these boring tasks that you have to do every day, for example, the engagement, the outreach, and the content creation, for sure, it will not get you a lot of, it will not have a lot of upside in the beginning, and you will spend a lot of time without seeing really anything. But in the long term, you will build those connections, and those connections will lead to something eventually. So yeah.
Okay, so yeah, I think that we basically covered all you are offering right now: foundation, acquisition, and lastly, systemizing or time management.
That was only the foundation part.
This was only the foundation.
Yes.
Okay, then we have a lot more to talk about. No, I thought that this would be it, but definitely let's go over the acquisition and the last,
Yes.
I think it was time management.
I will keep it short. So first, foundation. Second is the initiation. I call it because that's where you start. The third is the optimization. So the
Okay.
foundation, we cover that. The initiation is where you just start. You're implementing the acquisition, the conversion, and the delivery systems. And the goal is to set up your entire business from the ground up. Like implement those systems. Once you've done that, then you will probably already have your first client in that second phase. And if you haven't, then there is a bottleneck. That is why the third phase is the optimization phase. Here we will just find the biggest bottleneck and we will solve it. And also optimize your focus, because perfect focus doesn't exist. It is an ideal we can strive towards. So that is like the whole foundation. And the optimization phase, it could last forever, because like I said, everyone has a bottleneck.
Okay, so let's just say I have a bottleneck, but don't really know what it is. So how would you guide a client, or let's say anyone, towards finding this bottleneck? Because as I heard, this is like the one thing that determines if you will succeed in the future or not. And it's like the thing we talked before, an evolving process of solving the bottleneck, moving forward, and then seeing the next bottleneck.
Right. So the first thing when I experience like a bottleneck with a client, the first thing is, have you actually done the actions? And if they haven't done the actions, then mindset, then focus is the bottleneck. Those things are very personalized, and it's really difficult to have a one size fits all, because that isn't like the personal problems, the focus problem. If someone doesn't take action, it could take a while to actually solve that problem. And once someone is doing the action, then it is pretty simple. Like if someone is doing the engagement and when is doing the DMs, for example, then does this result in calls booked? Because that is actually what we are going for. We are looking for calls. The more calls we book, the more chance we have to succeed. If it doesn't result in calls, then the acquisition, the getting the leads in the first place, the content creation and the outreach and the engagement, then that is the bottleneck. What kind of content do you create? Is it like people see you as an authority? Do they click? Do they actually book a call with you? And when you're talking about the DMs, did you say the right things, for example? Are you following the steps right to book a call with them? So that could be a bottleneck, for example. If the person is hopping on a lot of calls, then you can say, okay, are you actually able to close the calls? Is your pitch okay? And if that is not the case, then we should go into that. You can do with the role play stuff. You can talk about previous calls that the client has done to see if the conversion is optimized. Then once someone is able to get the leads, but I would say most people, 90% of the people, they struggle with the acquisition. They just don't hop on enough calls. So for most people watching this, the first thing that they should do is just book more calls. If you're not doing like 10 calls a week, then you have to change your acquisition system. Then that is the main bottleneck. If you're doing more than 10 calls a week, for example, but you're not closing anyone, then the conversion is actually the bottleneck. If you're closing people, but you're not delivering value, for example.
So let's just say I'm at a stage of, okay, I need to find a bottleneck, but I can't really find it. Or how does the process of finding a bottleneck and solving it look like?
Yes. So it goes through those same three principles, right? Acquisition, conversion, value delivery. It's either one in those three systems, if you call that. And so I think with 90% of the people, the bottleneck is acquisition. They don't know how to get like enough leads, for example, and they don't know how to hop on calls, for example. So if like I basically look with the client, like if is this person actually taking the action, first of all, because if they are not taking the action, then focus is the bottleneck, then their mindset is the bottleneck. And that could be a long process about figuring out why this person is not taking action. But I might say that I qualify people based on that as well. Like before I start working with them, I want to know that they are action takers. I'm very like picky with who I work with because I'm like almost full. I almost don't have more time for the delivery. So um, sometimes it still happens that someone is feeling down, that they have a lot of doubts. So if they are not taking action, then the mindset is the bottleneck. If they are taking action and they are doing the engagement, they are creating the content, they are doing the outreach, but they are not hopping on calls, for example, then the bottleneck is actually the outreach and the content. Like what kind of content are they creating? Is the content that they create, is it optimized for likes and engagement and views? Or is it optimized for calls booked? And the DMs, for example, like are they saying the right things? Are they following the right steps to hop on calls with people? Are they framing it right? Are they following the principles? And if not, then that is the bottleneck, then we should work on that. And let's say they are hopping on a lot of calls. Like they are, because like if you're not hopping on 10 calls per week, then that is definitely a bottleneck. You should hop on at least like 10 calls a week. And once you hop on 10 calls a week, but you can't seem to close anyone, you can't seem to convert them, then the conversion is the bottleneck. So we should look at the pitch. Is it attractive enough? Are the deliverables clear? Are the outcomes clear? Are they specific? Are you delivering way more value than that you're actually asking for? Like if I recently had a discussion with this, if your offer, if people think it is worth around $500, then you shouldn't charge $500. You should charge 150. Because the money objections, the objection that they say like, oh yeah, I can't afford it. Of course, sometimes that is the case, but sometimes it is a smokescreen. Because let's say you are able to buy a Porsche 911 for $1,000. Even if you don't have the money, you will do everything in your power to get the money and then buy the Porsche. So I think it is a value problem, not necessarily a financial problem. So if conversion is the bottleneck, then we will solve that basically. And if they are converting people, but the people they leave after 1 month, for example, and they can't deliver on their promises and you have to refund everyone, then the delivery is the bottleneck. So by doing this, is this like a very structured way of finding the bottleneck and then solving it.
Okay, so definitely a process that is very well thought out and has phases that are clear and are evolving as you evolve as a person. Is there anything else you want to talk about this whole focus creator before we move on to the next stage in this podcast?
No, I think we covered like a big part. Yes.
Okay, so next up, I want to talk a little bit more about you and your story. So you talked a little bit about you as a teacher and you thinking about, okay, I don't want to do this 9 to 5 for the rest of my life. How or what was like, how did you call it? This point of, you say, the point of Tiffany. How did it look like for you yourself?
Yeah, so I was, for the first 9 months, I was very inconsistent. I was putting in a lot of work, unscalable work, like the engagement, like the DMs, and I would do that for like a couple of months, and then I thought I will not do this shit. Like fuck this shit. I'm not going to do this anymore. But then I would lose all momentum. The connections that I made started to get worse and worse and worse, and I had to start all over again, basically. And it repeated itself many times. So I struggled a lot with consistency and discipline in the past. And because I was struggling with those things, I was unable to build any momentum. So I was seeing like pretty much no progress for like 9 months. So I quit sometimes for 1 month, one time for 2 months. But then I realized like, okay, so there's literally like, and in those 9 months, I did discover some things. I did discover, for example, that discipline and consistency, it wasn't the problem. It was only the effect. It wasn't the cause. The cause, the real root problem, was my inability to focus. I kept thinking about my bad habits all the time. Like even I did this 100-day monk mode, where 100 days I wouldn't do any bad habits and I would do good habits. But the same thing kept happening. I experimented with different lengths. Around halfway of the monk mode, I told my friends, no, I'm not going to festivals right now, but when the monk mode is over, we can go to festivals. I'm not going to play video games now, but when the monk mode is over, we are going to do that. But by thinking about them, I gave them more energy. So the urges kept getting bigger and bigger. It was getting more and more difficult to fight them and to force myself to do the work, basically. And so my productivity was plummeting because of that. And it was going really bad, basically. And then it was only a matter of time before I gave in. Like this, the same thing kept happening over and over and over again. But because of those 9 months, I knew that the problem was focus. And from month 7 to month 9, I quit for like 2 months. But in those 2 months, by giving in to my temptation, my life didn't get better. It got only worse. Like I was playing video games, like my health was going down. My relationships were like weakening. My bank account was not as good. So I realized that if I would continue like this, then that would literally mean the end of my life. Like I didn't like the trajectory where my life was going. So I thought, okay, you know what? I have to commit. I have to let go of all of these bad habits once and for all, but until I reach the goal, because I couldn't tell myself I will not do them ever again. That was some part of me like didn't want to let them go. So I made an agreement with myself. I made an agreement to sacrifice those bad habits until I've achieved the goal. And that goal was 10K per month. So until I hit 10K per month, I won't play any video games. I won't do any alcohol or other drugs or like etc. etc. Short form, Netflix. And I haven't done that to this day. And it has been a year and I see so much progress. So I started to obsess about focus, try to improve focus. I read books about it. I practice focus every day. I learned from mentors, for example. And like 1 or 2 months later, my problem was solved. But then I thought, okay, so now I am focused. Now I am working 5 times more, 5 times harder, and I'm getting way better results, way faster results. So I thought, yeah, I could probably turn this into an offer because it was so valuable. And then, luckily, I did this journaling routine. Every day I was just journaling about what happened that day, and if I felt like an extreme emotion in some of the things, I would go a bit more deeper into that. And then once I did that, the brain dump for the whole day, I was writing down one message, one core lesson I learned that day for me the next day, for myself the next day. So I would actually improve 1% every day by learning the lesson, by implementing the lesson that I've learned the day before that. Then after the message, what I usually did was the priorities. Every day, remind myself of the priorities. 12 months, they haven't changed. It was 10K, earn 10K per month. That was my first priority. The second priority is fix my posture because I'm working all of the time, like my posture gets kind of bad. And improve my focus. Every day, improving focus was like a priority for me. Then after the priorities, I did the planning for the next day, basically. And in that planning, I wrote down everything I was supposed to do the next day. So when I woke up, there wasn't any decision fatigue. I could just wake up and spend and instantly start working without thinking, oh, what has to be done. But that was the whole journaling routine that I'm still doing. And because I did that whole routine, I could easily go back to everything I wrote down to see, okay, what were the crucial breakthroughs I went through in order to solve my focus problem. And I realized that the first one was clarity. So clarity on what I wanted and especially what I didn't want. Second was the commitment. I needed to sacrifice those bad habits until I've reached my goal. The third was finding focus. It was by discovering the high leverage tasks, and I knew what the high leverage tasks were due to the prior 9 months of trial and error. And then it was a refining focus, making a system that is like scalable and that you can do for the rest of your life, basically. So that was my epiphany, the focus moment, and I turned that into an offer as well. Now, I pivoted more into the business side of things, but I give all of my old offers away for free inside of my community because it built goodwill. People will start becoming more focused, and when they are more focused, I can get them better business results as well.
Let's say you have a goal and you set it, which was like 10K a month and focus. You said until then, I won't do these bad habits, or I won't do this and that, and I will
Yes.
focus more on the things that bring me towards it. Let's say you reach this point. This is totally different for a lot of people, but how does the moment after this look like? Do you just do whatever you haven't done before, or is it more, then I will commit to something even greater?
I think so. I think I will commit to something greater. It is like whenever you're running, right?
Mhm.
And you are running, and you see a tree. So, and then you say, I won't stop running until I reach that tree. But before you get to the tree, you are putting your border, you are putting it somewhere else. So you say, no, I will go to that tree or to that car, for example. So in the same thing, I will probably do this. Like right now, I'm at 4K per month, somewhere around that. So probably when I hit 8K, I will make it 3K,
Mhm.
maybe. But we will see, right? We don't know what the future will hold. Maybe when I hit 10K, I will go on vacation. And maybe then I will do some things. But I think what makes me most happy is actually the building, the grinding, like the making progress towards a goal. That is the most fulfilling part for me. So I think I'm just going to do it anyways.
So definitely a lot happened in this moment of, okay, I now truly want to focus, but now I want to go more over the lessons you learned. So you talked about a lot of lessons you learned through journaling. What were the most important ones that shaped you as a person or who you are right? Or the ones that now struck to your head because they were so important? For me, I
Yes.
have like 3 around my phone addiction, which was awareness, finding my why, which was dopamine, knowing that a lower dopamine baseline means that I enjoy my work and I don't need this flashing object. And lastly, it's knowing when I need to be distracted and when I need to be focused, so having a habit. These were my 3 core lessons. Which one were yours?
Okay, so first I will repeat it because I think it is so important. Focus. Whatever you focus on, you will get. So that covers like everything in my opinion. Okay, so first it is figuring out what you really want. What you really want. What your ikigai is. What we talked about before. Like what is it that you're good at, that you want, that you love, that the world needs, and that you can be paid for. Once you find something that checked all of those boxes, once you have the clarity on that, then just focus. Focus like really hard on that one thing and like say no to everything because that is when you will get the greatest results. Third lesson is your truth is the most important. There is so much noise, so many people on the internet, like even myself in this podcast. I am saying a lot of things that I genuinely think it is the best. It is the best for everyone? Probably not. Probably not. But you can learn from it. Like if someone says something, then really think for yourself, is this true for me? In my experience, is this really truth? And if it is, like there are some people who you relate to more. That is why the internet is so great because you can find people who are like-minded, who are just a few steps ahead of you. Most likely what's true for them is true for you as well, but still your own experience means so much more. So instead of just listening blindly to anyone, my advice would be, first of all, think, is this really true for me? So think about why they are saying that thing. Look at their perspective because everything is true if you look at it from a certain point. Everything is true. And But if you listen to everyone without really thinking about it, then all advice counters to zero. So when you ask ChatGPT, it gives like the most basic answer, but it is not really good because it takes everything from the whole internet and it gives you an answer, but it is the right answer, like in general terms, but maybe not for you. Maybe you should do something else. So like listen to a lot, but copy none. Learn from many, copy none. That is what.
Okay, interesting, because with this podcast, it's also like mostly listening, but I set a rule to myself to only take one lesson from each guest and implement it into my life. And I kept doing it since the beginning, and it's just amazing to have, like, now I think it's the 10 episodes or the 11 I filmed, but it will be like published, I think, first or second month of October.
Okay.
But all the things I learned throughout this journey shaped me as a person right now. And just learning from all of these amazing people who sometimes do, I don't know how much money, and most of the time I don't really care about the money. I care more about the person himself and their personalities, things they make them who they are. And just taking one thing from that and putting it into me is just like, okay, now I evolved into more, how to say it, a more full person, which is just an amazing journey. And that's why I will hopefully, or I will continue this until I can't anymore. So let's just see where it goes, but definitely listening a lot, and this copying none, I would rather change it to copying just one thing. But it's definitely different to everyone, and there's
Yes.
also some talks I take more from than others, but it's always like balances to around 1 or 2 lessons I truly take to myself.
Yes, and absolutely. And many people, like, for example, if people would see this conversation, then for some people, the best lesson is like the bottlenecks. For someone else, it is more about the focus. For someone else, it's more about like the questions, with the research call, for example. So the you should be the one that you resonate with the most, that you think, okay, this is actually what I can do with it. It doesn't have to be their main one lesson, but the one that speaks to you most.
Definitely, because I used to do all these courses, etc., and try to like absorb everything and change my whole life within like a day or two, and ended up like going back to the person I was. And this approach I have right now, which is gradually improving myself through listening, through visualization, through truly making it an experience that comes from my inner core, is just fulfilling and amazing at the same time. But
Yes, amazing.
yeah, now let's talk a little bit more about like mentors you had throughout the journey. So you said you invested a lot of money into mentorship, but what would you say were your best teachers along the way?
Ooh, that's a tough one. I would say, first of all, my dad. He is not in the business, not at all, but he has a lot of knowledge in like a bit of everything. Also in how the world works in general, and also about philosophies, about the Eastern philosophies, which I find very interesting now. And he has been my biggest mentor, like so far. And that is also because I've spent the most time on him. When talking about creators, so YouTubers, for example, it is Denko, it is Alex Ramosi, and it is Charlie Morgan, and probably like Sam Ovens as well. And yeah, like when we are talking about like the programs in which I paid for, it is definitely synthesizer right now. I invested in synthesizer scaling, and I got to that because Aiden, it was I know from a very long time already. When we were in it was my second month in, so that was like 19 months ago. He had this community called X Order that was with two other guys as well, Ewan and Savas, and I learned a lot from them, especially in the beginning phase, because beginner's hell is not a fun place to be in. But if you have like a group, a community where you keep showing up every week and you keep connecting with those people. They keep you accountable. They will teach you some things, and every week you will see the same people. Then that would help you so much. So then it was like I still didn't know like what I would offer because I still had these personal problems to figure out. That I did on my own most of all. Of course, I learned a lot from things, but that was usually like a personal issue. Then I invested in other mentorships as well. Like I knew how to deliver value because my offer it also had a decent brand, 1,500 followers at the time on X. So I was getting leads. I only didn't know how to convert the leads. So then I invested in this mentorship with Sean Canella. And he told me like, okay, this and this and this is how you have to do the conversion. Bam, instantly I was closing clients. So that was great. But then I didn't saw that much potential on X anymore. And I saw Skool was this up and coming platform. There was a huge opportunity in that because on X, like 9 out of the 10 people I speak with are creators themselves. So everyone is just selling to each other.
Mm-hmm.
And so, but if everyone is selling to each other, then who's making money, right? It is very difficult. And on Skool, it is actually like most people I talk to, like 99 out of 100 people, they don't have a business. They are looking to learn. So the conversations I have with that are much better. I can help a lot more people over there. So I decided to pivot completely to Skool. I only use X for to chat with some old friends, but I don't use it anymore. I'm now fully on Skool. Then I found Synthesizer. That is a free Skool community. Highly recommend joining their free Skool community, Synthesizer. And they have this synthesizer scaling program. It is a cohort of 60 people for 6 months where we will basically like scale our business and signing high ticket clients. And that helped me out tremendously so far. So
Mm-hmm.
I would say when it comes to that, my biggest mentor is definitely Aiden because he was in X Order all the way in the beginning and now in synthesizer scaling.
Okay, it's funny that Sean was on the podcast last week, so the
Mm-hmm.
podcast with him will be out, I think, is the episode before yours.
Mm-hmm.
So this will be exciting. But yeah, a lot of mentors. Sam Owens is right now one I'm discovering myself.
Mm-hmm.
But yeah, I noticed that a lot of creators are now kind of stepping away to different platforms,
Yes.
mainly because of, I don't really know everyone's reasons, but
Mm-hmm.
right now the algorithm is a huge problem for many people that nobody sees their content. But I think there's a lot of benefits from platforms like Skool, platforms like Warp. I'm like more into the Warp things because I invested in Iman Gati's program. So this will be the route I will be going with my whole community, with my offer. But yeah, definitely a lot of mentors. I don't know this Aiden guy, but maybe he will be on the podcast soon. Let's see.
Yeah,
Yeah.
I I mean he's very very busy,
Mm-hmm.
but like you could try I can I can ask him, but yeah, it's it's um it's great. It's great. Like having a mentor, it is such a cheat code
Mm-hmm.
because like someone has spent a lot of time and energy, sometimes like their whole entire life, to get knowledge about this one thing. And you can just like learn everything that they know, and all you have to do is pay a small amount of money and that money will come back. So I think it is the best investment like anyone can make, like a mentorship. And that is what my clients say as well. They literally say, this is the best investment I've made in my entire life. And hearing that as a mentor is also amazing, man. It is amazing.
And you said that people combining their knowledge into a package, which is also books. So would you say that there's a specific book or anything you read that truly inspired you throughout your journey?
I think this is different for everyone, again, because I would just say follow your curiosity. I've been really interested in philosophy and in history lately, like Napoleon or Alexander the Great, for example, to study the greats. You can become great. But some people might not be as interested in that. So, like, whatever you need, whatever you are curious about, that I would read.
Oh, I thought that the whole call is once again because you were like freezed for a second, but
Yeah.
interesting. So I also shifted my reading more towards like classics, more towards, I wouldn't say philosophy, but more stuff that is unusual, not this whole business books I always read. But yeah, it's definitely an individual process for everyone. And I think that this is one of the lessons we learned throughout this call, that most of the stuff we are doing has to come from our inner core. And only if this is right, only if our foundations is right, only if our essence is right, only if our curiosity is right, or not really right, but is us, then I think we can truly grow your business, then you can truly grow who you are as a person. But yeah, I think that this rounds up this call perfectly. Thank you for being such an amazing guest. And
No worries.
is there something that you want to say to a listener?
One final quote,
One final thing.
one final lesson is the best decisions are made when logic and intuition align. That is it.
Amazing, amazing. Thank you, Tibor. And yeah, thank you.
No worries, man.
Bye.